Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I believe that we're almost ready to begin with our morning session. We kindly ask you to take your seats. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you could take your seats, I believe that we're almost ready to begin with our third session. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, I hope that you have been well rested after yesterday. And we did see some of you at the reception, and I hope that you enjoyed it as well. For those of you who had a little bit of energy left from yesterday's long, hard-working day, I hope that you had a little bit of a chance to explore at the center of Seoul. And now, welcome back to day 2 of our 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum. And we will now kick off with Thematic Session 3, Strengthening Inclusive Partnerships in a New Era, including South-South and triangular cooperation and new opportunities for collaboration. So with that, I would like to hand over to our moderator by introducing him. Our moderator will be Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, the Vice Chancellor of Nalanda University of India. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Please settle down and we begin our deliberations. We have explored yesterday and day before the ideas that are affecting the development finance, the way we are needing the new innovations that are needed for enhancing the quality, the quantum, and of course the destination for the development finance flows. Innovative ways are required to cope up with the crisis that we are facing, and also in terms of how we look at the new finance, particularly the new modalities that are needed, be that triangular cooperation, bringing in coherence and convergence with the South-South cooperation, and what role private sector can play. All the three are to be explored in this session. We have possibilities of bringing in the horizontality that South-South cooperation stood for in these partnerships. The lexicon, of course, is evolving in academic and in policy circles. The word donor is no more light. We are on the horizontal framework that is coming in. And the new lexicon is trying to bring in the possibility of we working together. This is largely what we started with back in 2011 with the Busan Agreement. And I am glad that this is now coming up with the new modalities and new possibilities. Today, we would have the keynote address very much focused around this very theme. We are slightly delayed, but I hope we would catch up with the time that is lost. I have great pleasure in inviting Professor Yong-Wan Kim here on the stage. Please come for your keynote address. He is professor at the Department of Political Science at Songyang University. So, Professor Kim, you have the floor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yong-Wan Kim. I'm a professor at Sogang University, and it's my honor to have a keynote speech here at Session 3 of Busan Forum, which was actually initiated in Busan, where is my hometown and also a beautiful city. As all you know, in 2011 in Busan, Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation was agreed to establish with 4 principles: country ownership, focus on result, transparency and mutual accountability, and more importantly, for this session, inclusive partnership. Today, we gather again in the new era, facing global issues like climate crisis, weakening global governance, growing inequality, regional and worldwide conflict. In this era, the effectiveness of development cooperation to make the global south and all countries better should be revisited and should be significantly improved. That is why GPDC matters. The GPDC is not just another forum or a meeting place. It is a primary multi-stakeholder vehicle for development effectiveness. It can embrace all actors in development cooperation, such as government from the north and the south, multilateral organizations, non-governmental organizations, civil society, the private sector, and so on. The four principles of the GPDC are also recently endorsed again by the whole UN member states, including the Global South, at the first International Conference on Financing for Development and the UN General Assembly. Among many strengths of GPDC, I want to emphasize three core functions of GPDC: the global partnership monitoring, knowledge sharing, and narrative buildings. Based on four principles, the monitoring tracks progress of partner countries and development partners in implementing their agreed commitment. Knowledge sharing allows us to exchange evidence, innovations, and lessons from the field of development cooperation. Narrative buildings also allows us to pursue the better path in a shared future. These functions are not just optional. They are backbone of the better development cooperations, especially dealing with new challenges like climate crisis. However, it is needed to advance these functions more in the near future. In order to strengthen these functions, we need to expand and deepen our partnership. To align GPDC monitoring principles with global SDG reviews more closely, we need to cooperate with the United Nations to apply the principle of focus on result. Moreover, it is also important to build up data-driven monitoring system. With the private sector, we can urge the private sectors to participate in the field of development cooperation if we can utilize the principle of transparency and mutual accountability. With South-South and triangular cooperation, we can apply country ownership principles to build legitimacy and trust. Global South will learn from countries who share the similar development experience. It is also important that four principles of GPDC are also respected by new actors in development cooperation, such as emerging donors. And I'm encouraged that relatively new actors also show support and adhere to the development effectiveness principles. For effective development cooperation, we need to do three important jobs. First, we need to strengthen the GPDC's core functions of monitoring, knowledge sharing, and narrative buildings. Second, we need to use these strengths to deepen partnership in all actors in development cooperation. Last, we need to commit once again to turn principle into practice and practice into measurable result. Again, I appreciate all participants in this session, and I trust that the expert participant of this session will provide the detailed and concrete solutions for inclusive partnership for the effective development cooperation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, Professor Kim, for very insightful keynote address. I'm sure this has set in the ball rolling for this session. Many important points you have raised. I would just like to remind what yesterday our honorable delegate from Indonesia mentioned in terms of the delicate balance that Global South has to bring in, both as partner and as provider country. And this delicate balance actually contributes to triangular cooperation. And one more point that I want to remind in the Busan agreement is about CBDR, common but differentiated responsibility. and that gives in and sets the stage for this discussion to go forward. I would request all the delegates who are speaking in this session to join us on the dais, please. So good, we are set. We had very interesting keynote address that has triggered in many ideas, many reactions, and I think, I hope we would have multiple perspectives to bring forward the way GPEDC's effectiveness principle and many other ideas that we have been discussing would be explored here, largely to outline as to how we see possibilities of these new modalities to be leveraged for innovative financing to come on the table. I have great pleasure to bring in somebody who would speak about the idea of triangular cooperation and the way systemic scalability of triangular cooperation is possible. I would request Her Excellency Madame Flor Bella Pareba, President of Camerge, to tell us how she looks at the possibility of this scalability in triangular cooperation.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. Allow me to thank to the government of Korea and KOICA for the warm welcome and all the arrangements for these fruitful discussions here. Also thank to Professor Kim for his thoughtful remarks and Professor Chaturvedi, our moderator, for his kind introduction. I also warmly greet my fellow panelists. Allow me to outline Portugal's institutional approach to triangular cooperation. First, political commitment. Triangular cooperation is embedded in our National Development Cooperation Strategy 2030. Portugal views this modality as a distinctive form of cooperation, one that brings all actors together as equal partners in a circular dynamic where we all learn, we all share knowledge, and we all exchange expertise. Second point, advocacy through partnerships. At a time of heightened fragmentation and instability, Portugal has chosen to strengthen, not retreat from, international cooperation. Together with the OECD, we co-host the annual international meeting on triangular cooperation in Lisbon, which will take place at the end of October, 29th and 30th of October. It's the 9th edition of the meeting, and we look forward and we look ahead to the future of development cooperation at this meeting, where we hope you all can participate. And the meeting will focus on how to translate the outcomes of FFD4 into practice and how to better engage the private sector and philanthropic foundations to foster innovative partnerships and mobilize new resources. At the same time, we are also broadening our engagement with agencies from partner countries and multilateral organizations interested in advancing triangular cooperation. These efforts reflect Portugal's belief that building trust and expanding alliances are essential to making this modality more effective and more sustainable. Third point, translating commitments into practice. Portugal has increased its financial support for triangular cooperation and is supporting now a growing portfolio of projects under bilateral memoranda of understanding with partner countries. We also support inter-regional cooperation through dedicated mechanisms such as the Triangular Cooperation Fund, fostering cooperation between Portugal, Africa, and Latin America, and the Triangular Cooperation Window within the United Nations Fund for South-South Cooperation, which we are proud to be among the first contributors. So these three institutional choices reflect Portugal's vision for triangular cooperation, which is inclusive, multi-stakeholder, and built on shared learning. Turning to the second part of your question, just to say that how to make triangular cooperation a systematic and scalable modality. So based on our experience, a key step is to mainstream triangular cooperation by embedding it into other cooperation modalities as a natural aggregator of knowledge and expertise. This modality has both strengthened our bilateral initiatives and allow us to expand our reach and partnerships. On the advocacy level, finally, as a public institution, we tend to work primarily with public sector partners, but we are aware that scaling up triangular cooperation requires a more intentional effort to engage a broader range of actors, including the private sector and non-profit organizations. This broad engagement enables resource diversification and greater impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Madam Excellency. I think I must congratulate you for the Lisbon Forum. It has given huge impetus to idea, understanding of triangular cooperation and has played a very important role. Let me continue our discussion on triangular cooperation and bring in Mr. Robin Ogilvie from OECD. And recently with ISDB, you have just come up with this report called Global Perspectives on Triangular Cooperation. I would very much like to urge you to tell us what the key messages are. Thank you.
Thanks, Sachin. And let me begin by thanking also Flabella and the team and Team Portugal for hosting us all next month for the ninth edition now of the International Meetings on Triangular Cooperation. I really hope that we'll see many of you there again in person. And it's fitting because the Compromiso de Sevilla put an emphasis on more partnership-oriented collaboration. I think this is one model for such collaboration. This year's conference will take place amid a very different geopolitical backdrop and frankly different landscape for development cooperation to the one that we knew just 1 year ago. The good news is that I don't see an end to a triangular cooperation. On the contrary, it's growing. It continues to be systematized, more communicated about, and more mainstream. And in fact, one of the foresight exercises that is captured in our forthcoming report highlights some of the good bets for triangular cooperation, particularly when we talk about the bridge that it can play in building trust across regions and across blocs during these uncertain times. There's some work on data in there. It wouldn't be an OECD report if it didn't have some data in it. But I'll be honest in saying that this is an area in which we really struggle to pin down the scope, scale, and nature of triangular cooperation. And that's for a number of reasons. We're very often talking about small financial investments from a wide range of partners. We're talking about expertise, we're talking about funding, we're talking about knowledge, coming together to deliver on a development objective. We need to do a lot more to measure and make visible South-South and triangular cooperation. But I think we all acknowledge that this can't be done in the same way as for traditional ODA and an approach that focuses on the flows of knowledge and on the impact needs to be emphasized rather than one focused on flows of currency. This year's report focuses on the Asia-Pacific region, and there are some great examples from all sub-regions, spanning business, digitalization, agriculture, and others. And I think the point here is that triangular cooperation is very much alive in Asia and the Pacific. In our last report, we focused on Latin America and the Caribbean. We frequently cite Latin America and the Caribbean as the hotbed of triangular cooperation. But I think one of the main messages is that there are great examples of success across all regions. We also look a little bit at the role of the private sector as an attractive partner in triangular cooperation setups, whether it's as a technology provider, a driver of innovation, efficiency, sustainability, a funder. And in there are some lessons on what effective private sector engagement might look like. Several of you spoke of the Kampala principles yesterday, so I won't repeat that. But I'll say that, this it's a report launch next month in Lisbon, and my thanks also to the Islamic Development Bank, who are not up here with us today, but are really joint partners in crime, as it were, on this second edition of the Global Report. So thanks.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Robin. I think it's going to be quite exciting to see the report as it gets released. Let me now open the floor and invite some reactions from the floor for taking this conversation forward. Costa Rica has been playing an important role in this, and let me invite Madame Excellency Lydia Peralta Cordero, the Vice Minister for Bilateral Affairs and International Cooperation, if she has any observation. Yes, Madame, please.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Republic of Costa Rica, I welcome this opportunity to reaffirm that triangular cooperation has proven to be a dynamic modality, combining the best of North-South and South-South cooperation and the participation of non-traditional actors to respond appropriately and effectively to developing challenges. My country believes that this cooperation scheme has been key to strengthening national capacities and generating shared learning to contribute to other countries. Hence, in our condition as provider and recipient country in multiple triangular cooperation experiences, Costa Rica participates in triangular cooperation programs with partners such as Spain, the European Union, Japan, Korea, Germany, Luxembourg, among others, in which it has shared its experiences and knowledge with other countries, mainly in Latin America and the Caribbean. Nevertheless, we still face significant challenges that need to be addressed collectively, such as financial sustainability. There is an urgent need to ensure innovative financing mechanisms that guarantee the continuity of initiatives beyond project cycles. We invite you to deepen synergies between Latin America, Europe, Asia, and other strategic partners to promote social innovation, digitalization, and green economy projects. We reiterate our willingness to share national experiences in areas where we have developed capacities, such as sustainable development, sustainable environment management, energy transition, education, health, among others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Madame, for taking the floor. Let me now invite from Peru, Ambassador Noela Pantoja, Executive Director of the Peruvian International Cooperation Agency, for her remarks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. I wish to emphasize that South-South and triangular cooperation constitute modalities of strategic value complementary to ODA that allow the exchange of experience, knowledge, and solutions adapted to similar contexts, promoting a horizontal, transformative approach that generates synergies and contributes to mutual development. This was demonstrated last week in an expert panel organized by APSI with testimonies from recipients of South-South cooperation offered by Peru. Triangular cooperation has proven to be a valuable tool enable knowledge exchange, shared responsibility, and joint action between developing countries and official development assistance partners. Peru is firmly committed to elevating the quality, scope, and impact of triangular cooperation, which must be centered on horizontality, ownership, mutual benefit, and the integration of knowledge. We need to make triangular cooperation more effective, efficient, and dynamic. And this is what we want to promote with our current and potential partners. We invite you to work with us. The Sevilla commitment called on us to make visible the results of South-South and triangular cooperation as a qualitative contribution to sustainable development. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Madam, for taking the floor and highlighting two very important points, your emphasis on mutual benefit and your emphasis on qualitative assessment. Both are extremely important. And as a student of development economics, I find these two are the most contradicting terms for reconciling with the North-South flows. So we would take them up as we focus now on South-South cooperation. And I find Indonesia one of the most important countries which has played a very important role in delicately balancing South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation. Your Excellency, Sir Fabrin Alfanto Radiat, the Vice Minister for National Development Planning and Vice Head of Bapanas, to please take the floor. Sir, you have the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, and good morning to all of us. You pointed exactly right point, because Indonesia has a special position. We are both recipient and also a provider for development cooperation. Of course, this gives us a unique perspective, and we know how it feels to be on both sides of the table. Sometimes we give, sometimes we receive. But I think 15 years ago, we more have received rather than giving. But believe me, it's not always easy being on either side. But at least our experience told us and make us more wiser in establishing the triangular cooperation. Between 2020 and 2024, we carried out 187 projects with 147 partners. Yes, I'm correctly quoting the number, 187 projects, because I have to double check again with my staff who preparing this for me, because this is 187, it's 187. And we contributed over $80 million through program, technical cooperation, and grants. And I think it's not bad for the developing countries like Indonesia being able to contribute as much. To make sure our efforts match real needs, we designed a method to align our cooperation with national priorities, and then the President's vision, and last but not least, which is important, is with the SDGs. And from this year onward, our focus is clear on the issue of food and energy security, renewable energy, health and education, disaster risk reduction, women empowerment, child protection, infrastructure, and governance. It's quite a list, but these are what matter most. From our experience and our journey, we learned at least 3 big lessons. First lesson, South-South cooperation works best when it's two-way street. Mutual benefit is the key. And matching supply and demand is always the elephant in the room. It's always critical. The problem is not lack of expertise, but the problem is how we are able to connect the dots. That is why now we are upgrading our database of centers of excellence, because we want to know more exactly who can do what and who need what. Lesson number 2, capacity sharing is our greatest gift. Money is important, but knowledge and skill will create a lasting impact. And shared solution is more powerful than just merely a temporary grant. Number 3, triangular partnership are smart way to scale up. By working with multilateral agency and traditional donor, we combine local expertise with external resources, and together we make cooperation bigger, better, and more sustainable. Looking ahead, we are putting down a stronger route for South-South cooperation. And there are 3 important key that we have. First is policy coherence. South-South cooperation and South-South triangular cooperation are built into our national development plan. We even have a grand design. Number 2, institutional coordination. Since 2019, our Indonesian aid framework has improved accountability. 4 ministries coordinate, supported by civil society, philanthropy, and also the private sector. It's a bit crowded, but it works. Number 3, performance indicator. We measure progress. As South-South cooperation and South-South triangular cooperation are part of our national SDG indicators, and it's reported to our voluntary national review. Because what gets measured, for sure, it gets done. Next, we are building a comprehensive information system. It will be open to our partner and stakeholder. Transparency and accessibility are our guiding principle. So our commitment is very clear. By institutionalizing South-South cooperation, using evidence, and engaging everyone, we will make cooperation more effective, more scalable, and impactful, and hopefully with a little less of bureaucratic and a little more human. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Honorable Minister, for your remarks. Let me now turn to Mexico, which is also playing an extremely important role in the region to bring in South-South and triangular cooperation together. Let me bring in Madame Ms. Poliana Alejandra del Moral Vela, Executive Director of Mexican Agency for International Development. Madame, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am grateful for the opportunity to take part in this important global forum. Please receive all the fraternal greeting from the President of Mexico, Ms. Claudia Sheinbaum. Mexico reaffirms its strong commitment to the principles of and values that guide this important forum, building on Busan's legacy as a global reference in development cooperation, contributing knowledge, experiences, and the best practices effectively. South-South and triangular cooperation must be innovative, responsible, and result-oriented. Mexico has been at the forefront of efforts to institutionalize the evaluation of the effectiveness of South-South cooperation. Through the agency, we have development evaluation methodologies that link cooperation projects directly to national development priorities, fiscal strategies, and the sustainable development goals. Internationally, Mexico contributes to the development of methodologies, ensuring that lessons are not only documented, but also translate into public policy guidance and institutional reforms. From our evaluations, 2 main lessons stand out. First one, multi-stakeholder participation strengthens sustainability. Projects such as Sembrando Vida in Central America and the Caribbean have shown measurable impacts. In El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, beneficiaries reported productivity increases more than 90%, crop diversification gains of over 200%, and reduction up to 91% in intentions to migrate. These results confirm that when governments, farmers, social society, and the partners such as COICA and the Global Green Growth Institute work together, the impact on development multiplies. And the second one, circular and triangular models generate added value. For example, in health aging, Mexico has linked its bilateral cooperation with Japan within the framework of the Mexico and Japan Joint Program with Mexico-Uruguay Giant Fund. This model is expanding through Japan's joint programs with Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, creating a circular cooperation ecosystem connecting Latin America, Asia, and potentially Africa. Our country is innovating in environmental triangular cooperation through 2 flagship initiatives, and in Mexico is actively seeking partners to join promoting these innovation models. The first one, with Central America, we work on the protection of the Great Maya Forest, the second largest forest massif in the Americas after the Amazons. It is a trinational biological corridor encompassing 50 protected natural areas. The goal is to preserve 5.7 million hectares of forest, conserving ecosystem and protecting biodiversity. The second one, with the Caribbean, we are developing solutions for the sustainable use of sargassum, a resource that can be transformed into biofertilizer, biodegradable packing, sargassum-based bricks, biogas, briquettes, and residual fertilizers. Through biofactors, I generate these organic inputs emission and reduce, and local economies are strained. Finally, I wish to underscore that the private sector is a fundamental partner. In Mexico, the business sector is part of our Amexit Advisor Councils and participates directly in projects on clean energy, water management, and the circular economy. These alliances embody the Kampala principles, ensuring the business contributions are transparent, accountable, and oriented toward development results. Looking ahead, Mexico priorities are as follows. The first one, institutionalize robust measurement frameworks for South-South cooperation. The second one, expand circular cooperation models connecting Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And the third one, consolidate inclusive partnerships where governments, civil society, academia, and the private sector jointly implement the 2030 Agenda. For our Foreign Minister, Juan Ramón de la Fuente, expanding Mexico's global presence is the vital importance, with international cooperation as a key component of the Mexican diplomacy. Mexico stands ready to work with all partners to ensure that South-South and triangular cooperation continue to drive development and generate shared prosperity for all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Madam. Thanks for sharing Mexico's experience and your expectations in terms of how you see SSC and TRC converging. Let me now invite Mr. Santiago Quinones from Colombia. He's Director of International Cooperation, ODA, Presidential Agency for International Cooperation. So, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And I was asked to speak about the self-assessment that we have developed in Colombia for South-South cooperation. But let me start by saying that as many of the countries sitting here, Colombia has a dual role. So we are both a recipient and provider using that OECD language. But I want to start by saying something that is perhaps a little bit provocative. In all the official documents, you will see it says that South-South and triangular cooperation are complementary to ODA. We believe it's not. We believe it's a different way of doing development cooperation, and we actually believe that ODA providers should be looking more at on how we do South-South and triangular cooperation and learn from countries from the South. And actually, once we finish this event, we're having a space in which some ODA providers and some countries from the South called Rethinking Development Cooperation actually learn from each other, and we're rethinking the way we're doing things. Now, if you look at the principles of South-South cooperation as compared to those principles of ODA, here I'm speaking about Paris, Addis, as compared to BAPA plus 40. They have, of course, similarities, but mostly differences in its applicability, particularly to the ODA provider-recipient logic, which does not apply at all in South-South cooperation, and the non-conditionality, ODA being heavily conditioned, whereas South-South cooperation is heavily non-conditional. Now, based on those GPDC principles that brings us all together, is that with other Global South countries, we have advanced our own effectiveness agenda, which has taken us to develop a framework to assess how South-South cooperation can explicitly strengthen country ownership, use of data, accountability, and inclusiveness. This South-South cooperation effectiveness assessment has advanced over the years, and actually Mexico, kudos to Mexico Directora, kicked off this work in 2015. And then between 2020 and 2022, APC Colombia, the organization I represent here, with the support of the GPDC and UNDP, we updated the South-South Cooperation Effectiveness Evaluation Framework, and it was implemented at the time with some pilot countries, including Kenya, Mexico, Indonesia, Cape Verde. And what we did is that we first applied that existing framework and assessed its applicability, and subsequently we adjusted that methodology based on those findings to increase the accuracy of the data collected and the comparability of the results. This took us, of course, to have a new indicators framework that was established along with new data collection mechanisms. I'm not going to bore you with the technicalities, but this new questionnaire has 62 questions organized into the 4 modules of the principles. And basically the lesson is that crafting together, it's a good description on how we do assess the way we do things, the way we do development cooperation. In Colombia, we're looking at best practices, particularly in qualitative measurement, and we're seeing a unique value in advancing the effectiveness of South-South, as it can prove truly impactful the way we do it. And recently, in the probably many of you are aware, the COICA Learning and Acceleration Program that has been happening in the parallel of this conference. We went over this framework with 10 middle-income countries that have vast experience doing South-South cooperation: Argentina, Guatemala, India, Kazakhstan, Peru. And the insights that we're gathering from these countries is helping us to improve the assessment, and actually we're going to implement this framework in early 2026. We invite other countries who are interested to take part. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I'm so happy that you made some initial remarks which were extremely important, Santiago, if I may call it. It is important for us to realize the limitations within which the triangular cooperation, the South-South and the North-South cooperation is to be seen. And I think in this room, it is important that we aid such views in which we are not agreeing. And I think it is important that we don't end up with the echo chamber, which since yesterday I was feeling. So I'm very happy you have won my heart by saying this. And I think it is important for us to realize that complementarity and similarity are 2 different terms. And that's where the limitations of the South-South, the strength of South-South, the idea of conditionality, the limitations of the interpretation of the word effectiveness are extremely important. So it's great. Thank you. Thanks for this very important intervention. Let me now open the floor for discussion. And we bring in first Ms. Monica Ashuna from Kenya, from National Treasury, on what she feels about South-South cooperation and how she sees Kenya's priorities. So, Madam, over to you.
Thank you, moderator. So for Kenya, in the recent past, we see South-to-South cooperation, which has grown from symbolic expressions of political unity into a practical and increasingly strategic approach in development finance. Kenya has an interministerial standing committee on South-to-South cooperation, which is coordinated and convened by the State Department for Economic Planning. This committee is currently in the process of documenting all forms of South-to-South cooperation under each state department. Therefore, Kenya views South-to-South cooperation not merely as an alternative to North-South cooperation, but as a complementary and vital stream of development support, particularly in this era that is marked by geopolitical uncertainty and shrinking ODA from traditional development partners. In the Kenyan context, South-to-South cooperation has facilitated access to low-cost technology, technical expertise, and productive infrastructure, especially in agriculture, health, ICT, and renewable energy. With partners like India, China, and Brazil, Kenya has expanded cooperation in key areas such as digital infrastructure, clean energy, and vocational training and scholarships. So in light of the dwindling ODA flows from traditional sources, South-to-South cooperation provides a more flexible, demand-driven model of financing that prioritizes the real needs of the global South. I wish to say that South-to-South is not a second-best option. It is a cornerstone of an emerging pluralistic development finance ecosystem that can drive impactful development and sustainable skills transfer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Monica. So after what Santiago said about conditionality, your addition of flexibility and demand-driven nature, I think is a great addition to this list. Let me now turn to Ms. Julia Band from OECD TOSD Secretariat for her intervention.
Yes, thank you. Yes, this is working. Yes, if I may correct you, Mr. Moderator, it's Julia Ben from the International Forum on TOSD Secretariat, hosted by the OECD, but it is an independent entity. I wanted to share with you that in my work on TOSST, I have had the opportunity to discuss all aspects of the TOSD framework, whether it's the scope, the definitions, the statistical categories, with South-South cooperation providers around the table. And I have learned that many of the techniques or the methods that we are using or that were developed for the traditional providers, they can be useful in the South-South cooperation context too, as long as they are discussed first and as long as they are not imposed. So that's my first point. And then I would say that there are some aspects of South-South cooperation that need different or adjusted methods to appropriately reflect the value added of South-South cooperation. But these specificities, these can be integrated in a global framework, and that's what we are trying to do in the TOSD context, to have South-South as part of the big picture of development cooperation. I'd like to give you 2 examples of how this is working. So in a statistical system, again, TOSD is about statistics. So in statistics, everything needs to be defined. So we had a major discussion in this regard last year. It had to do, and we reached agreement on this, it had to do with the use of multidimensional criteria to define the list of recipients of development support that is tracked in the TOSD framework. And here it was really the push from middle-income countries that made us to have a good discussion on this topic and reach agreement on the issue. The other one, it had to do with the definition of a triangular cooperation. And there again, it was the triangular cooperation providers that were making the comment that, well, this definition that we had in the reporting methodology, it did not fully reflect the horizontality principles of South-South cooperation. And we were able to change the definition following a discussion in the forum. I fully agree with you, Mr. Moderator, when you said that this is about a delicate balance, and this, I think, is something that is, you know, the work on TOSSD is all the time about, and I hope that these experiences that I have shared will be useful in the development effectiveness context as well. And maybe I would just like to add that, you know, in response to as reaction to the comment from the Colombian representative, I think there is a lot really to learn from the South-South cooperation providers. So that's something that also in the TOSD framework, it keeps us going. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Julia, for this intervention. Very important. Let me now pick up 1 or 2 perspectives from the floor. This story is becoming quite interesting and exciting in terms of how we see this debate coming up and what are the limitations and what are the potentials for us to converge or diverge. So anybody who is keen to take the floor? I see no hands. No? Yeah. I would turn to you, definitely. Anyway, so let me, yes, sir, please.
Well, thank you so much, because this discussion is getting more interesting. You know, in a humanitarian crisis, there's a global mechanism to make a search and rescue, being the first responder. But if we talk about development crisis, we don't have this mechanism at the global level. I don't know, maybe I push the envelope too far, but I think GPEDC, my apology,
Yeah.
is very much in a good position to be able to starting the discussion on this. Because development crisis sometimes will lead to humanitarian crisis, or humanitarian crisis will be followed by development crisis. So if, as a global community, we might be able to establish the first responder for the development crisis happening everywhere. We have more than enough resources, not only by one country, but a global community, because it means that we can prevent the possibility of the development crisis develop into humanitarian crisis, or vice versa. So I put it as a food for thought.
Okay.
So we might be able to think further on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thanks a lot. Let me now turn to the last component of this panel discussion, which is focusing on role of private sector. Bangladesh has achieved some magnificent results in this regard. I'm extremely glad we are joined in today by Mr. Abdul Kalam Azad, the Joint Secretary in the Economic Relations Division of the Ministry of Finance of Bangladesh. So, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, moderator. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to the government of Korea and to the GPDC Secretariat for providing me this opportunity. We know Bangladesh conducted the first private sector engagement workshop in 2017 and conducted the assessment of more than 1,000 private sector partnership. In fact, this was easier part. What actually progress or achievement in Bangladesh, we can cite it. I think it's not much appreciable, I think. But there are some interesting examples. One important example is that during COVID-19, there was a interesting example. A public-private partnership involving a digital healthcare solution and another foundation and a government medical college supported by UK aid. They set up free and low-cost trials and testing booths for low-income residents in Dhaka. It was explicitly cited as a case study of applying Kampala principles. We found that inclusive country ownership, inclusive partnership, and leave no one behind, and transparency, accountability were in action through this project. And actually, basically, it was an example of South-South Triangle and Triangle cooperation engaging private sector. Because ultimately, this experience was shared with Nepal and other countries. We have another example that a project was launched in 2024 to improve access to justice in Bangladesh via mediation and legal aid, etc. And it was piloted in 3 districts. Its aim was to reduce delays in getting justice and improve ADR with the help of JICA. You know that in third world countries, especially Bangladesh, it takes time to get justice in the court. So it was an example, and it was also result and impact, inclusive partnership, leave no one behind also in action. It was an interesting project. And also the judiciary, with the support from UNDP, engaging private sector, is pushing reforms. I mean judicial independence, digitalization, and case management reforms. A roadmap was also launched in late 2024. And inclusive country ownership, results and targeted impact, transparency, accountability, these are also embedded in this project. We know that these are the principles of Kampala principles. Bangladesh can showcase such examples of public sector engagement in development cooperation. However, the private sector still needs to make significant strides to fully align with the Kampala principles, particularly in areas such as transparency, accountability, and inclusive partnership. At the same time, other development partners, government actors, donors, civil society must give greater attention to understanding and integrating private sector's priorities, their incentives, and constraints within the broader development cooperation framework. A more balanced approach is required, one that reflects the private sector potential as both a driver and partner in achieving sustainable development goals. We see that why private sector engagement based on compliance principle are not much in progress, because you see that mutual benefit alignment with core business interests matters. Private sector are more like to engage meaningfully when there is a clear match between development goal and what makes sense, business sense. If a partnership aligns with their core operation, I mean new market opportunities and other business goals, they will invest more, sustain engagement and innovative. From private sector engagement point, it was not enough to be doing good, not enough. The partnership needs to also offer some business incentives, profit, branding, market share, capacity building. So private sector partners feels their risk is justified. And another concern of private sector, that is administrative burden and transition costs, needs careful management. One of the obstacles private sector often cite is that when there is a multiple partners, each with different rules, reporting requirements, and procurement rules, legal standards, the transition cost rise. That can discourage private sector, especially SMEs. So these things should be, I think, addressed if we want to meaningfully engage private sector based on Kampala principles. And private sector basically looks for assurance of balance, accountability with lean process. They want avoid duplication, simplifying reporting system, standardize where possible, use existing system where possible. Private sectors are not acquainted with development partners process. In terms of communication process, funding process, implementation, coordination, monitoring, reporting, etc., capacity building of private sector, consultation mechanism, hence. So government and development partners need to come forward proactively, I think. Private sectors need to bring in confidence and trust by the DPs and government as they see the possibility of complex coordination and matrix management. Safe return of investment is crucial for private sector. So to my understanding, private sector is in Bangladesh based on KP basically involves around a small scale technical project. It seems difficult to distinguish between CSR, charity, and development. Very, very difficult to distinguish. So last point is that amid changing global situation and post-COVID-19 shocks, regional tension, climate risks, growing inequality, macroeconomic instability, shrinking ODA loan, high borrowing cost, counter-terrorism, Bangladesh is set to graduate in 2026. Against this backdrop, Bangladesh financing matters
Azad, can I come back
more
to
than
you
ever.
in the second round?
So, thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to hear.
Thank you. Thanks for this very important intervention and for highlighting the possibilities and, of course, the constraints that you are listing in terms of what private sector in Bangladesh is facing. I would come back to you for the second round, and we would have scope for further addition. Let me now turn to Naoki-san for your perspectives on how SMEs in Japan are leveraging this possibility. So over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. 안녕하세요. 조례해 주소서 감사합니다.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's okay. Firstly, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the Republic of Korea and the GPDC co-chair for inviting me to this session and her hospitality during this forum. Reflecting on the discussion we had yesterday and also we are having today, Now I would like to focus more concrete example of triangular cooperation, especially in terms of technological innovation, capacity building, and country ownership through the participation of private sector. Due to the drastic change in the landscape of development cooperation, now is the time to collect the effort from emerging donors, in addition to the ODA of DAC or provided by DAC member or traditional donors. This means to broaden the donor base, especially important with equally important with domestic and private resource mobilization. More than 60% of Japanese ODA has been provided to Asia over the last several decades, and we are privileged to be a witness to the economic development of the region, transforming some of the developing recipient country to become provider of development cooperation. Through this historic background, Japan places particular focus on triangular cooperation. Triangular cooperation with new partners, including the private sector, does not automatically guarantee stronger ownership in developing countries. However, when innovative technology or approaches provided by new members, new partners, offer credible solution to the challenges that developing countries are facing, country ownership will inevitably grow. This is because developing countries recognize the value of the solution and take the lead in applying it. A concrete example comes from Cambodia, one of the countries most affected by landmines. Japan has long supported its demining efforts, and a Japanese company called Nikken Corporation has participated in its effort. Although Nikken had no prior experience with explosive, the company spent several years of research and eventually developed an innovative solution, the creation of the blast-resistant mine-clearing excavator. Nikken also helped build strong ownership as a Cambodian Mine Action Center called CMAC. CMAC worked closely with Japanese experts, integrating technology and operation training into its operation. This approach helped train more skilled Cambodian professionals who could independently manage advanced equipment and ensure demining action could continue in a more sustainable way. As a result, Cambodia has become an active partner in international cooperation. Today, CMAC is supporting demining effort in countries such as Colombia and Ukraine. This example demonstrates how technological innovation from the private sector, strong country ownership, and shared experience can produce tangible results. Effective cooperation is not only about resources, it is about solution, people, and ownership. Japan will continue to invest in all three to make a real difference happen on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Naoki-san, for the solution that you have proposed, and we come back to you in the second round. Let me now turn to somebody who has evolved a very unique experience in South Korea. So over to Mr. Jeong-tae Kim, the CEO of Maria's social company, MYSC.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, everyone. Arguably, capital is the blood of inclusive partnership. So I think the question here today, this morning, is how we engage more capital in inclusive partnership over there. So I have two lessons learned to quickly share with you. The first one is blended financing I think, is a powerful key to inclusive partnerships. We invest in over 250 portfolios of startups across Asia, but before we teamed up with KOICA, we couldn't actually make investment to start up in other part of Asia. But due to KOICA's innovative financing initiative called blended financing, total $15 million size initiative, then we could invest it. We invest in startups in Indonesia, the Philippines, and Vietnam as well. So I think we would like to see more blended financing approaches come onto the stage. The second part, the second lessons learned is ecosystem building should be more highlighted if we talk about inclusive country ownership. For example, when we started our operation in Vietnam 5 years ago, we began with building up, co-creating Vietnam Impact Investing Network. So we invited all the intermediaries, universities, local VCs, venture capitals, student association, all actually the stakeholders into one space. That's how we started the inclusive country ownership process. After 5 years built up the ecosystem, now we are on the second phase of cultivating, accelerating local startups and having more investment to the local startups. So this should be highlighted more and more. And then this morning, it's so coincidence, this morning I just sit next to Bangladesh and Japan. So could you imagine if the three countries, we join forces all together, and this is what actually my company is prototyping. So together with our Japanese counterpart and MISC in South Korea, we are now designing a blended financing program for Bangladesh. So we are now bringing technology, capacity building skills, and investment expertise and track record, everything that are needed to build up the ecosystem over there. We are now thinking of how we could support Bangladesh impact venture ecosystem through blended financing, something that I mentioned just earlier. So this is something we'd like to highlight maybe next opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Kim. Thanks for helping me manage time better. So you were dot there. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think let me now open the floor once again, and I hope there would be enthusiastic response now to take the floor. I hope all the three rounds, the one on triangular cooperation, on South-South cooperation, and on private sector role, all the three have thrown up multiple ideas in terms of how we can generate innovative financing, how we can bring in new partnerships around technology, and what are the ways capacity building can be strengthened for so-called complementarity between the two streams of flow that we see between Global South and North. So anybody? Yes, Ambassador Thomas, so over to you.
Thank you very much. A quick question to any of the panelists, whether you have an experience where you used the forum for South-South cooperation in your country, the dialogues, the data gathering to actually bring the rest of the development partners on board, to use that basically as the crystallizing point for the dialogue, for the monitoring. That would be very interesting, because I think that going forward, we need to use any opportunity that we have to actually look at the whole ecosystem of development cooperation and draw conclusions from it.
Thank you. Thanks, Ambassador Thomas. I would very much request our panel to respond to that. Fortunately, in Latin American region, this is more prevalent, but there are a couple of examples. I would keep that reserved for our panel to respond to. May I pick up 2 or 3 more questions and then we get them responded to? Yes, sir. Please. Can we have the mic here?
Thank you. My name is Vitalis Maja. I just wanted to find out on the triangular cooperation aspect, and especially in the current context where the geopolitical tensions and rivalry are rising And I'm trying to imagine myself, especially for our countries in Africa, where we are caught in between the North and the South, and aligning with one particular partner in the South might deny you access to other resources in the North, and how, because we talked about making triangular cooperation systematic, how do you intend to navigate that quagmire that we find ourselves in, especially in the current context?
Very good, thank you. So, who would like to jump in for the two questions that are on table? Maybe I think, Madam, I may request you for Ibero-American Bank conducts this platform. Maybe you would like to say something about that.
About triangular cooperation and South-South cooperation, for us, first of all, I want to say that today the politics in the world change. And if we are not ready to make and take risk about new ways for do international cooperation, maybe we can't have very good results. For example, for Mexico, it's in a new era, and now we are working with Asia. It's a new phase for us. We work a lot of years. Yesterday was our birthday. We have 14 years like an agency, and all the things we do is just with South America. And now we explore Asia, and that's why I'm talking also about Africa. To having this relation with the knowledge of Asia for us is it's not about just money. It's about will. It's about knowledge. It's about how we want to change our knowledge about the cooperation and the new way to do politics in the world. I think for us is the thing that now it's to our politics be successful, and to put the person in the center of our actions. Our president named the Mexican humanism. All the things that we do of international cooperation needs to have the person in the center of our actions, and with face, with name, and to change the lives of our beneficiaries, sorry.
Anything else that you want to add apart from the two questions? Because I would now go around the table to have, yeah? Okay, Santiago?
No, thank you to your question, Thomas, right? This is pretty much work in progress, but for a couple of years we have been implementing something that we call in the country the development cooperation system. And basically what we've done is that we are enablers of dialogue spaces where local stakeholders see both ODA and South-South cooperation as an opportunity to enhance their own local development strategies. And it works both ways. Actually, basically local stakeholders as decision makers of their own development, they can have the whole data and the whole information in ODA that we as national authority have, and we put them at their service. But then again, they can see also opportunities for strengthening South-South with other regions, with other countries, but also give value to what the good practices they have, and they put them at the service of an international portfolio that we provide to the world, and that gives value to the development work they have been doing for years. Sometimes we export these good practices, and it's at local level, sometimes it's difficult to acknowledge that you've been doing things well, because you tend to look at the necessities. But then when you give value to those things is that they appreciate it more.
Thank you. Thanks, Santiago. Thomas, just to answer your question, both of my colleagues have done that. See, South-South cooperation, as you know very well, is not a homogeneous entity. There's a distinct feature of Latin American countries, South American countries, in terms of planning, announcing, and documenting. In Asia, that practice is missing. It is suo motu, and it comes up with least documentation. So as a result, with Ibero-American Bank, you would find even capacity building programs listed in terms of projects, entities, and very fairly documented. The presence of national aid agencies have further accelerated the process. China, with such huge quantum, has only done an agency in 2018, and except 3 white papers, you won't see much of the documentation. In India, we are still suggesting to have an agency, but documentation is missing. ASEAN countries have done it. Excellency is sitting here. They have initiated a major program for CLMV countries, but you find that some semblance in terms of data reporting is emerging. Like for instance, last week in New York, IPSA countries, India, Brazil, South Africa, 3 countries together have a $46 million project with UN Office on South-South Cooperation. They just released their report, which brings in 132 projects that they have implemented with UNOSSC. So there are these efforts which are there, but they are fragmented, and they still have to have the kind of precision that you ask for. It would take some time, but I'm sure it's going in that direction. It may take some more time. Thank you. Thanks for participation. Let me now quickly go around the table if anyone has missed out any points. I see that though we started this session a few minutes late, we are left with only 5 minutes. So 5 minutes I would borrow from our MC, and we can start. So, Madam, why don't we start just 1 minute each? If any point that you think is important you might have missed, or your recommendation probably for this session. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just wanted to add that we have placed the triangular cooperation at the center of our development cooperation because we think that it's a complementary to north-south, south-south dynamics, and basically because it fosters mutual learning. Looking ahead, I think that we need to show the added value of triangular cooperation. And doing triangular cooperation, it's not a particularly easy way of modality of cooperation because it is demanding. We need to combine different perspectives, methodologies, working practices, and different experiences. And we are also challenged to combine different roles, being, capacity building, financing, all that. Also, to combine public and private sectors, traditional and emerging donors or partners. But at the end, we all learn from this. And so I believe that looking ahead, we can conclude that we go further together. And that is what drives us to
Robin.
do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin.
Thanks, moderator. 2 things. First of all, as I'm sat here, I'm struck by the mainstream nature of this conversation. I was at Busan in 2011. We were not having this conversation. We were not having a full panel thinking about South-South triangular, private sector, and these types of partnerships. So it's now mainstream, it's come on, and this is really fantastic to see. Second, and I think building on what Flaubert and some of the others have said, data. And I don't say that just because I work at the OECD, but I think that getting better data on all of this is crucial to, as we'd say in French, to valorize it, to give it value and to ensure that its value is fully recognized. So I'll go back to Paris and we'll think with the team about how we can maybe link up with some of the initiatives that you mentioned, Sachin, potentially put some AI into this as well to see how we can collectively improve our data on these partnerships.
Thank you. Excellency, any point from your side?
I think I already put my point earlier on, so I think I should save it for now. But no, I'm just pass it because I already have my point on that.
You want to add anything? No. Thank you. Carlos, you already...
No, very quickly. Just to say that in times of turmoil, it's easy to see things on the dark side, but we honestly are very excited about the future. And again, because perhaps the wrong reasons, things are changing. And we praise those stakeholders who are starting to think differently, who are starting to do things differently, and just want to, send out the message that for us, and we hope that for everybody, development is local. And yesterday we had here Javier speaking about those initiatives that they have been advancing, and for us as national authorities, we're just facilitators.
Thank you, Santiago. Mr. Azad, any points?
To my understanding, as traditional financing is shrinking, against this backdrop, we have no alternative to South-South cooperation or triangular cooperation. And also we need to give importance on domestic resource mobilization. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Azad. Let me turn to Naoki-san, please.
Yeah, just one point. From the government perspective, it is very useful for us to encourage private sector to go to the Africa and Middle East to use their expertise they are having. I think not necessarily government intervention, prior intervention to start triangular cooperation. I think private sector directly go to the developing country to give their expertise, to give solution to the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Okay, my one little thought will be, I wish to see more asset owners and asset managers actually present here. So maybe next time, at least 1/3 of participants coming from these capitals as well. Because if you believe capital is actually the blood of everything that actually we talk about this morning, there should be more inclusive capital so that we can realize inclusive partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Kim. I think we had excellent discussion today. The panel was so rich, and we started with excellent keynote address by Professor Kim, which could highlight multiple points in terms of country ownership and the listed specialties that he counted from the Busan Agreement onwards. The idea of triangular cooperation, as we heard from Madame Flobella, in terms of triangular cooperation and the mutual learnings that you emphasized in terms of we taking that forward, particularly the modalities of cooperation and the possibility to deepen dialogue on what the contours of triangular cooperation are. Robin, you're absolutely right when you say that we have arrived at this stage to have this conversation. This is such a profound statement in terms of we going forward. Those of us who have participated in Accra, those who have seen post-Paris Principle, we know what direction we were going in and how Busan really turned that in a positive direction. So I think this was extremely important point that was mentioned. Sir, from your own point of view, Minister Rad, in terms of Indonesia's role that is there on triangular cooperation and also the learnings that are there from South-South cooperation, your example of 187 projects that you have engaged in is something which has really impressed us, and the range is so impressive in terms of issues, but the closing point that you made in terms of scaling up triangular cooperation with bigger, better and suitable solutions is something which is extremely important. Paulina, Maxit's experience that you elaborated is important. I'm very keen to listen to you later about the role that you do with universities, how you strengthen that. And Santiago, your point, which you started with self-assessment, but identifying the distinctions not to be forgotten as we move forward with triangular cooperation, of conditionality, of effectiveness, of assessment, flexible and demand-driven, as Monica pointed out. So I think this discussion was extremely important on SSC and triangular cooperation. On private sector, Mr. Ajad, you very effectively brought out the constraints and the limitations that private sector is seeing. But those possibilities came out quite profound, in very profound manner by Naoki-san in terms of the way we need to incentivize private sector. And what they actually could achieve is what Mr. Kim has highlighted. So this panel, a big hand for the panel, and we close this discussion. Thank you, and over to the MC now. We took 5 minutes late, but I have given you back in time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please give another big round of applause for our panelists and our moderator as they return back to their seats. Thank you very much. And now I would like to mention that once our group photo is complete, we will set the stage for our closing session. It will only take a few minutes, but we will have a very, very short break of 5 minutes once we clear the stage, and then we will move on to our closing session. So ladies and gentlemen, please do remain in your seats. Do not go too far. It will only be a couple of minutes before we begin with our closing session. So thank you very much for the group photo. If you can please clear the stage for the group photo. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please return to your seats so that we can clear the stage for our closing session. Thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll only be about 5 minutes before we resume with our closing session. So please do not go too far, and we will bring up our co-chairs as well. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that our stage is ready to greet our guests. So if you could please take your seats, we will soon begin our closing session. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you could take your seats, we will soon begin with our closing session. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you could take your seats, we will move on to the closing session. Thank you very much for your understanding and your cooperation. Please take your seats. We are ready to move on. Thank you. All right, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the closing session of the 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum. Over the past 2 days, we've explored how to strengthen effective development cooperation for the future as well as for the present. And this session offers the final reflections and a look ahead. So with that, it is my honor to first invite His Excellency, Mr. Kwon Ki-hwan, the Deputy Minister for Multilateral and Global Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, for his closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, very good morning to all of you. As we conclude this forum, I want to thank you for your participation, engagement, and contribution for the past 2 days. I know many of you have traveled from far away, and I hope that you will have some time to look around the city and relax this afternoon. This forum has taken place 3 months after the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, and I believe it served as a timely opportunity to discuss ways to implement the outcome of the FFD4. As a key forum recognized in the FFD4 outcome document, this Busan Forum has once again demonstrated its role as a vital platform in bringing relevant stakeholders together. By doing so, it has helped to sustain the momentum on the importance of development effectiveness agenda. This time, we had focused discussions on improving the global partnership's flagship monitoring mechanism, revitalizing the development effectiveness agenda, and strengthening inclusive partnerships. Since the launch of the GPEDC in 2012 and the first edition of the Busan Forum in 2014, the significance of this forum has continued to grow. In a time when global development financing gaps are widening, the core principles of development effectiveness are more important and more relevant than ever. They are country ownership, focus on results, inclusive partnership, and transparency and mutual accountability. The Busan Forum serves as an essential venue to champion these principles and to foster evidence-based and results-driven partnerships. These days, geopolitical tensions are deepening, existing multilateral institutions are weakening, and climate crisis is unfolding. Now, developing countries are faced with multiple and multifaceted challenges. Addressing these requires greater cooperation and coordination. The Busan Forum will continue to offer an inclusive and constructive space to facilitate our consideration on effective development cooperation. To advance our discussions, we will encourage broader participation in the GPEDC monitoring process and will work to ensure that its findings are more effectively applied in development cooperation on the ground. Korea will continue to pursue inclusive partnership and collaboration. We will work with both donor and partner governments, the United Nations, OECD, civil society, and the private sector. Finally, I call upon all of you to continue your efforts to build upon the discussions held here at the Busan Forum. Once again, I extend my sincere thanks to all participants for your contribution and look forward to continuing to work with all of you. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Deputy Minister Kwon Ki-hwan, for your closing remarks. And now to conclude, we also have our co-chairs who will share the brief forward-looking reflections and priorities for effective cooperation. So I would like to invite all of our co-chairs to take their seats on stage. Please join us up on stage. His Excellency, Mr. Daniel Epembe Mosango, Secretary General, the Ministry of Planning and Coordination of Development Aid of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Please join us on stage. Ms. Christina Hartler, Acting Assistant Director General of the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. Please join us. Ms. Moharani Wibowo, Director for Foreign Affairs of the Ministry of National Development Planning, Bappenas, Indonesia. And Mr. Luca De Freya, the Deputy Secretary General of Action Aid Italy. Please come up to the stage and take your seats. Thank you, and please welcome them with a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So we will proceed in the following order: the Democratic Republic of Congo, Indonesia, Sweden, and then Action Aid Italy. So co-chairs, please approach the podium when you make your presentation, and we will start with Democratic Republic of Congo, please. Please make your presentation on the podium. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la modératrice, pour la parole.
Yes, thank you very much to the moderator, the MC. Honorable Vice Minister, Deputy Minister, and also GPEDC co-chairs, and also all of the distinguished guests present here today. We are now at the last stage of the 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the participants here today. Our Busan Global Partnership Forum has been able to engage in great discussions thanks to the contributions of many. I would like to speak on behalf of our minister and once again thank the government of the Republic of Korea for your hospitality and also for your continuous support for multilateralism and also for your support for effective development cooperation. In 2011, we reached a historic turning point, and the political leadership was shown by the Korean side back then. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank the Deputy Minister once again, and also, ladies and gentlemen, through this forum, we were able to look with a cool head about the reality and was able to share about our experiences and look about our commitment. Until 2030, there are only 5 years remaining.
So today, once again, we would like to renew our determination to achieving our 2030 goals. And we were able to discuss concrete measures and ways to proceed and make progress. It is time to translate our will and commitments into action so that we can create a better future for our future generations. The 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum has been a valuable opportunity for us to reflect on rapidly changing environments and how our landscape is changing. And this forum is being held a few months after the Seville meeting. At the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development in Seville, there was much discussion, and I believe that the outcomes of this forum helped us deepen our understanding and our discussions at this very forum. When it comes to data regarding development cooperation, they're not just about having indicators, but rather data can serve as a leverage in facilitating and promoting development cooperation, and data can be used to build and deepen trust among stakeholders. I believe that we were able to renew and reaffirm our commitment in building more inclusive partnerships. And from this moment on, we will continue to work to prepare for the high-level meeting. The 2030 Pact on Effective Development Cooperation was adopted in Seville, and this originated from the Seville Initiative. And I believe that the GPEDC high-level meeting will serve as a midpoint in implementing this 2030 Pact. And I believe that this high-level meeting will be an opportunity to further advance our action. Ladies and gentlemen, this Busan Global Partnership Forum was a valuable opportunity for us to realign our positions, but we will not stop here because the forum itself has to mark a starting point, a beginning line. And we were able to share many thoughts and many ideas, and these ideas need to go beyond this conference room, and our reflections, our discussions will need to reinforce our development cooperation mechanisms and produce tangible results. Once again, we are reminded of the importance of sustainable development, and we cannot achieve sustainable development without peace. And peace cannot be achieved without justice, fairness, and solidarity. Therefore, I believe that we all need to stay strong on these convictions and remember that it takes courage to enhance effectiveness in development cooperation. And we're all doing this for humanitarian good and for the entire humanity. The 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum, I believe, will continue to evolve and develop. Thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, On behalf of the government of Indonesia and also as a co-chair of the GPDC, allow me to extend our deep appreciation to the government of the Republic of Korea for hosting this year's forum, and also to thank all the speakers, moderators, and also participants for your substantive contribution and also engagement over the past 2 days. Over the past 2 days, we had a very engaging and substantive exchange of ideas, in which we reaffirm that development effectiveness is not only a technical exercise, it is a political commitment that underpins the credibility of international development cooperation. From our discussion, there are several key messages stand out clearly. The first is about the outcome of the FFD4 and also the launch of the 2030 Pact of Effectiveness. This gives us a fresh momentum. Now is the time to translate this commitment into measurable actions and also realistic roadmaps, even amidst today's complex global outlook. Second, our discussion highlighted that the monitoring is the beating heart of the GPDC. So it was clear that the GPDC monitoring result must not remain static. It must drive dialogue, behavior change, and also policy reform at country level. Monitoring should be integrated into national development ecosystem and also shaping our collective narrative and also strengthening our accountability. Third, inclusiveness is our compass. Civil society, private sector, trade unions, philanthropy, all have a rightful place under the effectiveness tent. Here, in South-South and Triangular Cooperation, we can serve as a powerful modalities fostering innovation, solidarity, and also mutual benefit, especially in the times of resource constraint. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, looking ahead, several priorities emerge from this forum. The 2030 Pact of Effectiveness must serve as more than a political declaration. It must inspire concrete reform, policy coherence, and also predictable financing that partner countries can rely on. The second is about South-South and Triangle cooperation that should complement, not substitute, to the Global North and Global South cooperation. Together, we can bridge the gaps in financing, knowledge, and capacity. We call on all stakeholders to participate actively in the GPDC monitoring round and also to channel its finding into reform at the national level. Finally, greater alignment between GPDC, the UN system, and regional platforms is essential to avoid fragmentation and also to ensure a coherent global architecture for development cooperation. Excellencies and esteemed colleagues, Indonesia remains committed as a co-chair of the GPDC and as a dual-role country and as a trusted partner in the global development community to advancing this agenda with all our partners. As we close this year's forum, let us carry forward a renewed determination, which are to put effectiveness principle remain at the core of all our efforts to make development cooperation more inclusive, impactful, effective for people, prosperity, and our planet. I thank you.
So let me start again by extending a very warm thank you to the Republic of Korea for hosting, so generously hosting the 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum, and for your long-standing and very strong commitment to the agenda of development cooperation. I also want to thank each and every one of you, all the entire participants, for engaging in the discussions and sharing experience, making these 2 days truly rewarding. As a GPDC co-chair, I have 3 points I would like to make in terms of the road ahead, and I'm very pleased to see that the co-chairs have sort of similar points that we're taking from the conference. First, my first point, I would like to urge you all to engage in the GPDC monitoring that is ongoing at the country level, and to make use of the results. So engage and to make use. They provide fresh evidence, a point that has been stated several times during the course of these 2 days. And it also includes a wide range of topics, including on how to improve the participation of the private sector based on the Kampala principles. The action dialogues is now take place and will provide opportunities for inclusive dialogues on the next steps. So my second point, the 2030 Pact for Effective Development Cooperation also provides a platform for knowledge sharing and joint work in a co-creative manner. As one of the co-leads, we invite you all to engage and make use of this space to follow up on the FFD commitments and, of course, help shape the effectiveness agenda going forward. Finally, this afternoon, the GPDC Steering Committee, with representatives of all stakeholders, will meet to discuss the next step. This includes plans for the next GPDC high-level meeting as a political opportunity. So thank you all for inspiring me personally with your experiences on how you have institutionalized and developed the development effectiveness agenda at the country level. It makes me realize that what we all do together actually matters. And for that, I am truly grateful. So, thank you.
Thank you to you all, and thank you to our host, the Republic of Korea, for this great opportunity coming together to Seoul just a few weeks after the civil conference. It was a very timely decision, and it's been demonstrated this has been a great space to discuss the immediate follow-up to that conference. And let me briefly say that I'm very pleased to speak today on behalf of the CSO Partnership for Effective Development, the CPD, and also on behalf of the non-executive stakeholders involved in the GPDC. We have distinguished colleagues from local authorities in the room, academia, philanthropy, and we have other colleagues involved in this effort, including trade unions and parliamentarians. And this is a great example of what we mean within the GPDC, that we are a truly multi-stakeholder space and forum. And this is something we greatly value, especially at the time when we know we are facing lots of constraints. CSO space in general is shrinking. So we really would like to safeguard GPDC as a multi-stakeholder place as much as possible. It was great to have colleagues from these non-executive constituencies to speak from the stage, and hopefully we provided some useful inputs. I really like to second what my colleagues, co-chairs, have just highlighted. We have been very inspired by discussions here in Busan as co-chairs, and I would like to assure you that we do feel the pressure to deliver. We feel that pressure. I can assure you that we work nearly every day, we are in touch nearly every day to discuss the next steps, how to best implement and how to best match the expectations that we are creating. So this is really a thorough commitment that we feel and that we'd like to be consistent with. And this afternoon we're going to start the plans after the Busan Partnership Forum to value to the best, to the best way possible what we have learned here in Busan. I think we have learned a lot about the challenges we're facing. We have said many times over that whole challenges have been now compounded with new challenges. It's not for me to offer you a summary, but I have taken lots of notes, as you can imagine, long-term commitments facing fragmentation, for instance. So let me say in conclusion that this was the place to be. Very, very happy that we've been able to be here. And we're really already planning the next steps, and you're going to hear from us, co-chairs, GPDC, very soon. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to all of our co-chairs for the wrap-up as well as the final conclusions on the way forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As I have been watching all of the participants and the attendees and speakers and moderators over the past 2 days, it was truly inspiring to see you so passionately working towards a better future. So, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2025 Busan Global Partnership Forum. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to thank you all once again for making this way all the way to Korea. I hope that you have a little bit of time to spare to take a look around the city and to enjoy it as well. Thank you once again for your active participation, your insights, and your interventions and commitment to effective development cooperation. We wish you a safe travels home, and we look forward to working together once again in the near future. Thank you very much. And as for lunch, ladies and gentlemen, the invited guests will be provided at the Astor Suite from 12:20 p.m. on the 36th floor. And we also ask the steering committee members to join us at 2:30 p.m. Please do not be late. We will start at 2:30 p.m. and the Sapphire Ballroom on the 3rd floor. And with that, thank you once again and have a lovely day ahead. Thank you.